100th video, I decided to ask the question, what is a car guy? In 1897, the New York Times stated, "Man has much loved the horse, but it is unlikely any such love will ever be applied to the automobile." They don't know how wrong they were. In fact, car enthusiasts carried the auto industry in the early years, and racing is what sold cars around the world. And by the 1950s, car culture was an industry of its own. Americans were becoming increasingly more aware of things like Grand Prix and other types of sports car racing, even though we already had Indianapolis, and things like NASCAR and the NHRA were quickly gaining popularity, with an ever-increasing number of hobbyists, from hot rodders to amateur racers to collectors. So naturally, magazines on the subject were popping up everywhere, from things like sports cars to motorcycles to hot rods. But when you tell someone you're a car guy, they tend to have a very narrow view of what that is. Possibly a fat guy in a ratty t-shirt with a beer and a John Deere hat. But car guys are a diverse group of people with a wide range of often unrelated interests. They may be into exotic sports cars, or off-roaders, or classics, for example. And even these are broad examples that can be broken up into a seemingly infinite number of specific interests. Off-roaders may include sand rails, or dune buggies, or rock crawlers, or mud boggers, or monster trucks, to name but a few. And identifying what a classic is can be a source of debate depending on who you're talking to. Is it anything more than 20 years old? More than 30? The super luxury concours cars from between the wars? High-wheelers, cars from the brass era, or the golden era, or the fat-fendered era, or the finned era, or the muscle car era. Muscle cars are another subject that brings up debate. True muscle cars, super stocks, pony cars, performance compacts, or performance compacts. Modern muscle. What was the first muscle car? What was the last muscle car? Has there been a last muscle car? You have people that are brand loyalists, Ford guys, Chevy guys, Mopar guys, Honda guys, BMW guys, Hispano-Suiza guys, or whatever. Or those that focus on cars from a specific country or region. American car guys, German car guys, British car guys, Japanese car guys, Italian car guys, and even French and Swedish car guys. Naturally, I know a number of Ford, Chevy, and Mopar guys. I know two people that collect Imperials. Not Chrysler Imperials, but the real ones from 1955 to 1975. I know a guy that used to collect first-generation Civics while driving a '58 Apache as his daily driver. I've known people that have collected Studebakers. I've known people that have collected Oldsmobiles. Some guys just collect whatever random thing catches their eye. I recently met a guy that had a Studebaker and a Duster parked along a row of four-wheel drive Fords. I knew a Mopar guy once that decided that he had to personally restore an A-body, a B-body, a C-body, and an E-body. I met a guy once who spent many years learning how to perfectly restore a late 50s Corvette, and he apparently did a good enough job of it that it ended up on the cover of a magazine. Then he took all that he learned from that and restored an old Dodge, after which he sold all of his tools and got into rock carving. My former brother-in-law once told me that his objective was to own every year of Chevelle, and when I had asked him if he hadn't already done that, he said not at the same time. This was a guy who almost annually would drop a 455 Oldsmobile into some kind of truck for competition, typically mud bogs or truck and tractor pulls. I worked with a fan of German cars whose lineup included a BMW 2002, a Volkswagen Squareback, a VR4 Jetta, and of course, a microbus. Car guys range from youngsters with a burgeoning interest to those that have become hopelessly involved in the hobby, possibly in more ways than one. And let's not forget those car girls, as both hobbyists and professionals. They say you've made the transition from car enthusiast to hopeless motorhead when the clock says 4:55, and instead of thinking Miller time, you go directly to Oldsmobile or Buick Big Block. Some are mechanics, some are collectors, some compete, some do all of the above. Some don't have the time, money, or experience to get involved the way that they'd like to, but that doesn't mean they aren't car guys. Some may not get any closer than playing Forza or Gran Turismo or whatever car game is the latest rage. Some may spend their time poring over stats and specifications. Some spend countless hours window shopping on classifieds. And some collect miniatures or do models. Some are just race fans, be it drag racing or NASCAR or rally racing or Formula One, Trans Am, touring cars or whatever. And some have that project car, or 12, that they plan to get around to eventually. What kind of car guy am I? A hopeless one. I drive anything. Sure, I have my preferences. V8, rear-wheel drive, manual transmission, a big car with a bench seat. And as my regular viewers will point out, I do tend to lean towards Mopars. But I'm hardly a purist. I got my start with motorcycles and ATVs. Then my uncle got me into drag racing, long before I was old enough to drive. So I delved into magazines, Carcraft, Street Rodder, Hot Rodding, Muscle Car, and perhaps most significantly, Cartoons. From there I moved to car magazines, first with Motor Trend, and then Road and Track and Car and Driver, Automobile the second that it was introduced, Auto Week, and of course the Automotive News Trade Journal. And then at 15, I bought my first car, and it was a steady slide into hopelessness from there. What kind of car guy are you? Whatever you're into, don't ever let anyone tell you that you're the wrong kind of car guy just because you have different interests than they do. Enjoy what you like and learn and share, because as it turns out, there never was a car that wasn't loved. And I would like to take this moment to thank all of my longtime supporters and subscribers. You know who you are, and I know who many of you are. Too many to list, but I'd like to thank you all, including that one guy from Vietnam. And of course, my biggest supporter, my wife, and my mother-in-law who bought me this cool shirt. So as always, thanks for watching. Don't forget to comment below and like and subscribe.